In this video, I'm going to show you what is possible in Run 8. All the different things that you are able to do and how easy it is to do them and how well it works. I'm not going to show you how to do things. That'll be in a later video. So this is not a tutorial. This is just demonstrating all the different capabilities that this train simulator has. And will hopefully answer the question for you whether or not you should buy it. If you're the type of person that loves to drive distance trains, not working locals, you just want to get in and you just want to go for several hours, Run 8 is fantastic for that because the map is just massive. We're here at East Seligman in Arizona, and I'm going to show you how fast by just going to the train menu, loading up a saved train, Kansas City to Barstow manifest, how quickly I can have it placed down on the map, and we're ready to go. That fast. You can make as many custom saved trains as you want. You could have 100, you could have 1,000. And that quickly, our train is on the map and we're ready to go. All we have to do is contact the dispatcher and we're driving. We can hop in, do our brake test, get our EOT, make sure our EOT is working, things like that, and you're ready to drive. What makes Run 8 so awesome and sets it apart from any other train simulator is the physics. So when you're driving a train like this, it actually feels like you're driving a real train. You can isolate locomotives, so if I only wanted the front two on this consist running, I can click here, click isolate over on the right. This one is still idling. You can still see the exhaust smoke coming out, but the engine is now isolated, so it's not going to put down any power. If I also wanted to cut out the dynamic brakes, I click DB cutout, and you see now it's cut out, and now that locomotive also has no dynamic brakes. If I want to put them back on, I can turn them back on. I can put the engine switch back to run. And now we've got back to 2.5 horsepower per ton. You can also simulate locomotive failures, which is really cool. There's a slider at the top under train and then locomotive failure chance. You can slide this slider to none or often, however you want it. And you can get random failures as you're driving the train. You can also manually simulate a failure by clicking it, and at the very top right under stats, you can see here all the different things, and they say okay, and your traction motors. So for example, if I wanted this one to have a bad turbo, if I double click, now it says fail, and now look at the exhaust smoke pouring out of this thing because it's got a blown turbo. How awesome is that? And it's also not going to function as well either. And if I go to the lead unit and I go inside, you're going to see we've got a flashing unit alarm on our display. And because if it's flashing, that means it's not in the unit that we're in. It means it's in a different one. And obviously it's this one right here. And if I go inside here, you can see on the back display, it says turbo fail. Now I can fix it by just double clicking it, and now if I want to simulate low water, that actually shuts the engine down. So if you have low water, it's going to automatically turn the engine off. And if I look at the display here for low water, you can see here the engine automatically shut down because the water level got low. It's up to you if you want to fix it by just going back up here and fixing it, or you could actually bring it to one of the shops and simulate a little bit more realism that way by bringing it to a shop, and after so much time then you fix it. Another really cool feature is each freight car has its own diagram with the air brake information. So you've got the brake pipe, aux reservoir, emergency reservoir, and brake cylinder pressures displayed. So I've got a minimum set You can see the brake pipe's at 84 psi. And if I were to release the train brake, you can see it slowly starting to fill back up, and you can see the brake cylinder releasing. And you can see this on every car. Also at the top, it gives you the temperature of the wheel bearing. So you see 95 F. The axles are currently 95 degrees. And if you go through a defect detector and you had sticking brakes, that temperature can get to like 250 degrees, and you can set off a alarm detector, and you'd have to stop your train and let it cool down and see what the problem is. In the brake diagram at the top, you can see the bottom bar is kind of a light orange, and that means that I've got a minimum set on all the cars that if it was white, the brakes would be fully released. But I've got a minimum set, and I just want to demonstrate something neat that you can do. If I close off this one here, and this one, and then release the brakes, you'll see in the top diagram that the brakes are fully released up to this freight car. And you can see that they are releasing on the back side of this freight car because we have DPUs. And those are able to also release the brake and fill up the brake pipe as well. So you can see now only the car that I isolated still has the brakes applied because it's a little bit orange. If I didn't have DPUs, then the whole back of the train would still be showing brakes applied. So now you can see this car still has 12 pounds in the brake cylinder because I closed the angle cocks, and you can see at the top, it's still applied. This can happen where you're driving a train and it shows this while driving with the brakes fully released, and it simulates, Run 8 will simulate stuck brakes as if the brake valve was just sticky. So what you can do here that's really cool in Run 8, I can click on the freight car, and up here in the menu, I can bleed the brakes by clicking bleed. And you just heard the air dump, and you can see that all the pressure is coming out of the brake pipe there on that car and out of the other reservoirs as well. Everything's going to go to 0. You'll see now the brakes released at the top, it's showing, but this car is still singled out. Now I want to hit cut. This cut in is green. I want to cut the brakes out on this car because it's got an obvious problem. So I'm going to hit cut out, and now you see it's yellow. So now the brakes are no longer going to function, and it's just going to be almost as if this car didn't exist. And I can open these back up. If I apply the brakes, put on, let's see, we'll do 10 pounds, a 10-pound reduction. Actually, let's go 20. So I'll take the equalizing reservoir down to 70. And you can see the brakes are not applying here. And if I click the menu, look at the brakes at the top. That's really unique. I don't know of another simulator that lets you do that. I've got brakes 20 pounds on every car, but because we cut this one out and bled it, it is no longer applying brakes, and we don't have to worry about triggering another defect detector because of hot axles. So now I want to show you how Run 8 monitors coupler forces. So we're here on the Cajon Pass, and we are going up a 3% grade. I've got 5 locomotives on the front, 2 in the middle, and you can see here 3 in the rear. And this is going to be a loaded coal train. We've got 4.3 horsepower per ton, 10,489 tons. And I'm going to show you at the top of the screen, you can see the white bars at the top. See them changing there? I just pulled off the parking brake, the hand brakes. And you can see the forces, that yellow and green. So now I'm going to start to accelerate and start to pull the brakes off, and keep your eye on those white bars at the top, the topmost bar, and watch the colors change. that's going to be illustrating the stretch force and the compression of couplers. On the rear DPUs pushing up the hill, they're going to be compressing. And the ones on the left, the 5 circles on the left at the top, are the locomotives in the front. So I just pulled off the independent brake, and you can see all of a sudden, look at how it's getting real dark red. That means that they're stretching. There's a lot of stretch, and you can see the number there is 400,000 pounds. So I started pretty aggressive there, and now you can see, so it's red in the front, right there. You see that red? That means there's a lot of stretch force. The darker it gets, the more stretch force. And then as it fades to yellow, that's less. And then in the back, here's the compression. So the darker blue and purple, it's more compression. And then as it fades to lighter green, that means there's less stress. So we're making our way up the hill, and I just added a few notches of throttle, and notice how the colors change and the numbers change at the top, because you can see we're pulling harder and it's creating more stretch force from the lead. And then you can see in the rear it got darker blue and almost purple because we were pushing harder from the rear, so it was compressing those. So now I just added a fence, and I'm going to talk more about DPU control later, but for this example I'm going to now put the mid and rear DPUs into idle, and I'm going to throttle up the lead and watch what happens. So it was just way too much weight for only the lead locomotives to handle, and you can see there that it broke the train. We broke a coupler right there. And the engines automatically go into idle. So it wasn't that coupler. That one's still okay on the coal car. But on the back here, you can see this one got ripped off. You can see where it snapped. So all you have to do is click coupler, click fix broken coupler, and then you're all set. You can put the train back together. So I'm just going to quickly put it back together to demonstrate a few more things. So now look at the top of the screen. See here we got, it says 258 coupler pounds, 258,000. And you can see that we've got some bunch in the rear. What I'm going to do is I'm going to release the independent brake with the train brake on still. So all the freight cars have their brakes on, but I'm releasing the brakes on the locomotives. And watch how all that pressure is now released, because the locomotives are drifting backwards slowly. They're not don't have brakes applied, but all the freight cars do. So we're rolling back slowly, and we're still, remember, we're on a 3% grade here with 10,000 tons. So I'm just going to feather the independent brake and try to slow us back to a stop gently. And you can see how by doing this it removed all that force on all of the couplers. So there's barely any, it's just a little light yellow at the top, but it's almost white. And as we come to a stop, you'll see that it's more relaxed. The whole train is relaxed. We don't have a tremendous amount of force on any of the couplers. We're not pushing extremely hard on the rear, and we don't have a lot of pull force from the lead. So now I want to demonstrate how you can put a locomotive as dead in tow. If, for example, maybe it had a failure, or you just didn't want it running and you didn't want it to function with its independent brakes. I'm going to simulate a low oil situation. You can see right there on the screen it says low oil. And we also have a DPU error flashing as well a little bit. We got our unit alarm flashing, and the DPU error came on too. And that's another thing. DPUs can fail mid-trip, and you have to stop your train and fix that situation too. So now to put this in dead in tow, engine has to be stopped, isolation switch to isolate, And then I got to come over and disconnect the electric multi-unit connection. So that's disconnected. So now this locomotive is considered dead in tow. So now it will no longer operate the independent brake like it used to. And you can see at the top, that circle, that's that locomotive we just put at dead in tow, and the brakes are releasing. It took a little while, I sped it up, but they're still releasing. Now I just released the independent brakes on all the locomotives, and I have the handbrake set on all the whole train so we don't move, just for this example. And there's still a little bit of brake pressure showing in this last one here. So I went in, and because it's moving pretty slow, I thought maybe I had to bail to get it back to white, fully released. So that might have helped, I'm not sure, but we're almost there. We're almost at fully white, which means brakes are fully released. So right now, once this gets white, we have the bottom bar at the top is your brake for all the freight cars. So right now, the brakes are fully released on the whole train, and it's just all the handbrakes holding it on this hill. So now watch the dead in tow locomotive, and I'm putting on the independent brake on all the trains, but you can see that one doesn't react now. Only the other ones turn purple. They've got full brake on the locomotives, but not the dead in tow one. And now if I put on the train brake, the automatic brake, watch how it'll react. It'll react just like a freight car. So you can see the brakes coming on, and they're coming on evenly because they also apply on the brake cylinders on the locomotives too. But in this case, this one is reacting like a freight car brake would. So you'll see I'm going to bail off the locomotive brakes, and you're going to see that the brakes will stay on the dead in tow locomotive. And you can see there, see they're still applied. They would only release if I release the train brake. If I release the automatic brake, then they'd come off on that specific unit. Now I want to show you how you can control multiple locomotives throughout the train, or your distributed power units. So on this train, for example, we've got 3 in the front, and I'm just going to zoom to the middle. You can see we have 2 locomotives in the middle, and then in the back we have another 2. So if I go back to the front, now we're back in the lead locomotive, and if I zoom in here on our MFD display on the right, you can see that we've got 3 different sets of DPUs. We've got the lead, and then B, and then C. And if I apply a notch of throttle, you'll see the lead go up immediately, and the one in the middle and the rear have a slight delay because they have the radio communication, so it doesn't show you instantly. And if I go down a notch, you can see them both drop back down. And if I put us into dynamic, you'll get the same thing. Now what's really cool is you can control the different distributed power units separately. So if I put up a fence, the fence always starts from the right side, from the rear, and moves forward. So if I put up a fence, now I can control the lead and the center distributed power units separately from the ones in the rear. So you can see I got a notch of throttle on the lead and the center, but nothing's happening in the rear. Same with dynamic brakes. If I put us into dynamic, the rear is just going to sit at idle while we've got dynamic brakes being applied on the lead and the center. I just put the rear in notch 1. And you can see now that the rears are in notch 1 while we've got brakes applied in the front, which is something you would do if, let's say, you were going over the Cajon Pass, over the summit, and you've got to start braking in the front but you want to keep the rear pushing up over the hill, you would be doing something like this, controlling it separately. Now I can move the fence, so I can do that. And now you're going to see the center locomotives, they're going to switch from dynamic into notch 2. It takes a little bit of time, which is very realistic. And now we've got the center and our lead and on the rears in notch 2 while the lead is braking. And then if I take the fence off completely, everything's going to go into dynamic. You can see right there. And it's now they're moving into brake 2. And there you go. And then you also have your air display. So if I released the train brake, you're going to see it takes a little delay, but you're going to see the brake pipe fill up on the DPUs as well. Now let's say I put the fence, so I'm only controlling the rear DPU. I can zoom to the rear of the train, and I can apply 1 notch just to the rear DPUs. And you hear them throttle up, and you hear them bunch up that slack. They're starting to push forward. But in the front, we're still idling. You might be thinking, driving a train for 2 to 3 hours is really boring. I do not like driving trains across the desert or wherever on the map. It's just really boring. I want to work locals. I want to do switching. Well, Run 8 has endless amounts of that. We're here at the Norris Yard in the brand new AGS Norfolk Southern, AGS South route. And this is the hump bowl here. And I want to show you one of the things you can do, which is the trim job. If you configure your AI trains to spawn in like I showed earlier, you can be switching cars and building outbound trains endlessly, because you'll have supply trains that continue to come in from your spawn points automatically into the receiving yard. And then you can have the AI take them over the hump and sort them based on the hump parameters that you choose, where you want the cars to go. You program all of that. And then the AI will push them over the hump, sort them for you, and you can run the locomotives on the other end and pull cars out of the bowl, combine them, sort them, and build outbound trains, and then send them off the map. So this is an AI train that is currently pushing these cars towards the hump here at Norris Yard. And I just turned on the tags, and you can see all the cars in the yard have their own tag that's based on however you program it. And that's how the hump is going to sort the cars based on those tags. Run 8 has multiple hump yards on the different DLC that it offers. You've got one at Barstow and West Colton Yard. You've got one in Northern California at Roseville. There's the one we're looking at right now in Alabama, Norris Yard. And then there's also in New York and also the Florida DLC. I don't remember the name of the hump yard because I don't have that DLC, but I know there's at least one down in Florida as well. And then Pennsylvania does not have one. It has train yards, but not a hump yard. So as the cars go across the hump here, they're going to be automatically disconnected, and the AI automatically bleeds the air, opens the coupler, and you can see these 3 are now going to go down to the appropriate track, all automatically. So while this is happening, you can be switching on the other end. The cars will roll slowly down until they couple with the cars ahead of them in that track, and then they'll automatically stop. There's nothing that you have to do. I'll speed this part up a little bit so you can see, because it moves a bit slowly, but I'll speed it up so that you can see how it looks in fast motion. Now we're down at the other end of the bowl, and I'm running this train here. So I'm in control of this train, and I'm kind of doing it in a cinematic way here for this video. But if you were playing, you'd probably either be in the cab or you would be holding onto the grab rail in the back and making sure the switches are aligned. And now we're going to pick up a cut of cars from one of these bowl tracks and pull it out. While we're doing this, that AI train is still pushing cars over the hump. And when he finishes, you could set up another train in the receiving yard to start pushing over. So as you can see, this could just be a continuous loop. You could just continue to pull cars and build outbound trains if you love doing this sort of thing. Now we're pulling this cut of cars out, and we're going to either combine them with another cut or maybe shift them over to the forwarding outbound yard and then grab another cut to combine with the one we're just pulling now, and we'll build an outbound train. And here we have one of our AI inbound trains, and this one is tagged for local industries. So all the freight cars on this train have tags, and they're going to need to be sorted in the bowl over the hump yard. So this guy is coming into the Norris yard, and he's routed by the dispatcher, so there's nothing you have to worry about. And this is just another example of how you can program it if you love doing switching and working the trim job at the yard. You can set up Run 8 to continuously supply trains for you into the receiving yard that need to be sorted into outbound trains. If I open up the hump controller here, you'll see this is what the configuration looks like. And it says default config. You can name that whatever you want, and you can save more. So you could have 10 different configurations if you want. And then you see all your tracks and all your tags there. And you are able to program this exactly however you want. You can change all those tags and have the computer sort the cars down the tracks in whatever way you want it to do. There's no set way. And then you can create a configuration. You can save it. You can have multiple. So if you want to resort a train, like you hump once, and then you push those cars over again, that's totally possible with a different configuration. So if you like sorting cars and you want to do yard work, Run 8 is fantastic for that, and really a lot of fun. I'm here in Southern California, and I'm going to open up the industry configuration screen. And I want to show you how many industries. I have all of the DLC for Southern California, and I'm just going to scroll through here. You see the industry name on the left, the incoming tag that it's expecting, the local symbol, and then you can transport to that industry if you want to. And then on the bottom here, it shows you, so if I click on Allied Potato, you can see they take refrigerator cars. They take one, produces loads, so they take empties, and then it'll be full when it's ready, and then your outgoing tags. But I want to show you how many industries there are that you can deliver to in Run 8. This is just Southern California. If you get to Northern California or down in Florida, DLCs, Alabama, Pennsylvania, this could keep you busy for years and years. We're still in the C's. Now we're in the D's. Look at it. It just keeps going. Just an unbelievable amount of industries that you can work, especially if you're just a single player. You'll be busy for a long time. The depot website also has really nice maps that are available for free. This is the map that they provide for the San Bernardino subdivision. And I just want to show you all the different locals that you can see on the map with the green tracks, and it says the name of the company next to the tracks. And you can just see how many there are here that you can have the potential to work. And then here, and when you get into the industrial parks, I mean, just look at how much switching you can be doing going through here with all these different companies. You got to be dropping off cars, you got to be picking up cars. So the way that the industries work in Run 8 is you would likely start with your supply trains coming in from off the map that will be tagged. And if I turn the tags on here, we're in the West Colton yard again, you can see all these different tags on these cars. Once you have your industries and your AI trains configured, then it'll automatically send you in supply trains with these tags. So what you would likely do is once these come into your, well, these are actually in the bowl. So these have already been sorted. So the receiving yard is further off in the distance there. And you can see it back there, the receiving yard. And then, so these cars have already gone over the hump and have been sorted. And then you would pull these out and build them into an outbound train. And here's all the tracks for the outbound trains. So these cars need to get locomotives put on and they're ready to go. Okay, now I want to show you how industries work in Run 8. So we've got a GP40-2 with 4 covered hoppers here. And we are at NutriBlend Incorporated. We're going to back in. So if I turn on our industry tags, you can see NBI here. This is a different one on the left, JBFT. We're not going to worry about that for now. You see NBI right here with the red dots. So that's where we got to put these covered hoppers, anywhere on where the red dots are. Now, if I open up the industry configuration, you'll see at the top here, NutriBlend Inc. The local freight symbol, the local symbol is LRF73. And then the tracks are assigned NBI. And then down here, these are all the different types of cars you can choose from for your industry to process. And this one, we only have covered hoppers. If I wanted to add gondolas, I could click here and add tags for gondolas, Roseville, if I wanted to. You could do whatever, you could customize this however you want. If I open up the industry list here and see how some of these are green, that means they have cars that are ready to be picked up, and these are all the cars. If they're not green, they don't have cars ready to be picked up. So this is LRF 73. So I'm going to click that. So we got cars here that are ready to be picked up. So you'll see there's nothing in here for NutriBlend Incorporated, where we're dropping off right now. It's not showing any cars dropped off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this train back. We're going to drop these cars off at this industry. And they have to be on the red dot, so we got to keep going. Okay, so now we're on the red dots. Now we're good to apply our brakes here at any point. So let's slow this down. Set a handbrake. And now we can uncouple. And we're on the red dots all the way? Yes, we are. So we're good to drop off. Now that we've disconnected, if I open up the industry list here, the industry cars tab again, and I look for LRF 73, look at the bottom, NutriBlend. Here's the 4 covered hoppers that we dropped off, tagged NBI. They're currently empty, and there's 24 hours based on if I go back to our configuration, see we have hours 24. That means it's going to take 24 hours of game time for them to be processed before they're ready for pickup, and they'll be loaded when they're ready. Not 24 hours just in life. I don't know how you say it, but it's gameplay. So when you stop playing, the clock stops. When you load the game back up, the clock starts again. Now, if you fast forward the time, so these are currently empty. If you were to fast forward the game clock You can't go past the current date, but as you can see here, we're July 2024 right now. So if I advance this one day, look at the cars bounce, because the system realized 24 hours had passed because I had just advanced the time. 24 hours. Now these cars are tagged for their outbound tags based on the configuration. It's no longer NBI. And they're all full now. So they're ready to be picked up. So if I click back on the industry cars, LRF 73, now look at the bottom. They're ready to be picked up. It's no longer 24 hours, and they got their outbound tags, and they're all loaded. And you can hit Generate Car Report and get a switch list for a spreadsheet to help you with your switching. And then now, the next time you play and you're working this local again, you're going to maybe drop some cars off, but you're also going to pick these 4 cars up and bring them back to the yard to get sorted. And that's basically how locals function in Run 8. Now, we just dropped off at 1, but you can see there's multiple industries right around here, and you saw that list I showed you earlier. There's hundreds just in Southern California. Oh, did somebody leave a shopping cart out here? That's fantastic. That's awesome. We're back at Barstow Yard in the North Departure Yard, and I want to show you how quickly, if you want to make a custom train, you go to the Consist menu, and then I'll clear out what we had in there before. And then very easily, I could just quickly grab engines, whatever type I want. I'm going to go with, let's see, all freight cars. And I could just grab box cars, add them in there if you want to move this engine here. If I want to put one on the rear, reverse it. You could do random reverse, which will randomly reverse the cars, or randomly reorder. So you could easily build the train that you want, and then that quickly, it's on the map and you're ready to drive it. If you want a more powerful train building and editing tool, I highly suggest the external consist editor, which is available for free. And I'll leave a link in the description of where you can get it. But I just want to show you what you can do. It's like what I just showed you in-game, but with the external consist editor, you can build a train the same way here by dragging cars. You can also highlight the type, and you get an awesome picture and all the details. So you can see what engine, or if I go to gondolas, I can see what they are going to look like as well. If I want them loaded, I just drag this across, or I can have them all load by clicking the L, or empty, random reorder. You could see that it's just extremely powerful. It gives you your horsepower per ton, your length at the top, and all the information that you're going to need. And then you just save the file and you just open it in Run 8 and drop the train in, and you're driving. It's that simple. So now you're probably thinking, okay, well, this sounds great. I can drive a train and it seems really simple, but what about traffic? I don't want to be on an empty map just driving by myself. Are there going to be AI trains? Can I control the AI trains as far as where they come from and what they look like? And the answer is absolutely. It's extremely easy to set up your traffic. All you have to do is open up your AI trains menu, and right here on the main menu, you have a button to turn it on or off. So now it's enabled. I can turn it back off if I want. You can set your time between when a train will spawn, the max trains you want at any one time, and then the train symbol timeout hours. This will wait for, so if it's on 18 hours right now, that means that if it spawns a specific train symbol that you put in, it won't spawn that train again, that symbol, for 18 hours of gameplay. Once you've surpassed the 18 hours, now it might drop that train in again. If I go to AI status at the top, You can see these are all of the AI trains. We've currently got 16 on the map. You can see the symbols, lead unit numbers. And if I wanted to go to any of them, I would just hit transport and it would take me right to that train. So when you first start playing, it's very easy to set up your AI trains, your traffic. You would click on spawn points, and these are all customizable. You can delete them, copy them, transfer them over, and add new ones. So for example, I'm going to show you Seligman, East Seligman Main 2 westbound. The slider controls the probability of how likely it is that that one will be spawned next, that location, because you can see we have a lot of locations. So you use these sliders to fine tune when one of those locations will spawn a train. If I go to train types, you can see all the different types of AI trains that you can have. And there's sliders again to control the probability of each type. So if I go to mixed intermodal, you can see that's very popular because it's the most to the right here, the slider. Now, if I click at the top right train symbols, you can see there's all these symbols, and I added these in. And I got these off of a BNSF website that has all the train symbols currently. And then you can customize if you want it to have DPUs, if you want it loaded or empty, what types of locomotives, and what railroad, like Norfolk Southern, BNSF, Southern Pacific. You can choose them down here. If you want a tag, a custom tag, you'd type it in right here. And that's it. And then you would go to the next one. So like by clicking add here, here's a new one. I could type my symbol in right here. Choose my options. I want DPUs. I want ES44s and SD45-2s. And I want them to only be BNSF. And that's it. And now if I wanted to drop this train in, I could hit spawn. And in the top left of the screen, you can see loading and placing. And it says spawning a new train at Seligman. But now we're not there at the moment. We are in the middle of the desert. So if I want to get to that train that I just dropped real quick, I can go back to the AI status menu, scroll to the bottom. Here's the new train we just dropped in. I didn't type a symbol just for this example. Click transport, and now we're there. This is the AI train that I just spawned in, and the computer decided what liveries. I said BNSF, and you can see this is a BNSF old Santa Fe. So it shows only BNSF. It decides the direction that these multiple units will be facing, and the computer also decides randomly which cars are going to be on the train, whether they're reversed or flipped. It does all that for you. And look at, he's already going. He's already being routed. He's got a signal, and he's going to run. He would run based on the symbol I typed in. So if I wanted to go him off the map at Modesto, then I would put a symbol that would route him up that way. If I wanted him off the map going down to Long Beach, California, I would choose a different symbol. And he will automatically be routed across the map, and you don't have to do anything. So as you're driving your train, you're going to have a realistic experience with all the other AI trains that you program in, however you want them to look and however you want them to function. And there's no limit to how many AI trains you can add. You can add as many as you want of all the different types. You could have 50 symbols. You could have 100 symbols in these lists. And then if I want to remove one, here's the one that we just added up here, new. All I have to do is just hit delete, and now it's out of there. And if this train I just spawned, if this was a mistake and I didn't want it, I can click a car, And in the top right, just hit delete and it's gone that fast. If that was a mistake, say I didn't want it in the map, it's gone. As long as you have random AI traffic enabled, Run 8 will automatically spawn in trains based on that time interval. So once you go through the process of adding and configuring your traffic here and adding your train symbols, you never have to touch it again unless you want to make minor adjustments. It'll automatically add trains from all different spawn points all across the map, wherever you choose, and you don't have to worry about it. Now, if you manually want to drop a train in, let's say I wanted to add in a train here in Mojave at the Saco siding, I can do it manually by clicking spawn here. That would drop a random train, random one of these mixed freight or intermodal, because those are the two sliders that I have programmed with symbols. If I just wanted a mixed freight, then I'd come in here and I'd click spawn right here. So let's try that. And you'll see at the top left, it's now spawning a train at Saco siding, and it's a manifest train. And again, if I come down here, I see it at the bottom, I hit transport, and here it is. Those engines are starting up. We already got a engineer and conductor in there. They're ready to go. And this train is about to leave from Saco. You can see he's already got a green signal, and they will be pulling out any second. We've got our train placed on the map. We have our AI traffic all programmed in, so we're going to have other trains running on the map. We're ready to drive, but what about signals? What about getting a green signal and getting us to where we want to go? Do we have to look at the dispatch screen and constantly be clicking signals to route us and figuring out where to go while we're in the cab driving the train? And the answer is no. Thanks to Otto, the AI dispatcher, you just turn them on at the top. You go to dispatcher menu, engage Otto on all routes. On the dispatch screen, by pressing F1, you can see that Auto DS is turned on, and the computer is going to automatically route all of the trains on the map based on the train symbol. And you can customize the train symbol routing to add your own symbols and to let the dispatcher know where you want your trains to go. And as you can see on the SoCal, with all of the DLC add-ons for Southern California, there's a lot of track. So we are now in control of the Kansas City to Barstow train. We're ready to drive. All I need to do, because I have the auto dispatcher turned on, is at the top I can hit DS menu, and you can also use the radio. You can type in the channel and the tone and reach him that way as well. But for this example, I'm just going to show you the simplest way by going up here to DS menu. And when you use the radio at the top, you get this same menu. And then you just hit tone dispatcher and give him a second. It takes usually maybe 2-3 seconds. And here it is, Auto DS answering BNSF East Seligman Tower. And I'm going to request a signal. And you'll see at the top left his message. So he answered, and he gave me an affirmative, and there's our green signal. You can see we just got a green there, and he's saying proceed on signal indication. And now we can go. And if I open our dispatch screen, you can see us at the bottom, our Kansas City to Barstow, and you can see now we're currently lined all the way here to control point at Audley. And as we move, he's going to continue to give us lights or give us maybe an approach or a stop because another train's coming, and he'll automatically decide based on priority what train should go where, and he will get us into Barstow Yard, all the way from East Seligman, Arizona, into the Barstow receiving yard without us having to ever open the dispatch screen. In Run 8, dispatching is optional because of the auto dispatcher. The computer will automatically route your train based on the tag that you have on the train. Whether you're driving the train or it's an AI controlled train, all of the routing that you see here is done automatically by the auto dispatcher based on your tags. So you can see here, this one is LBE to ALT, BNSF. So this is Alliance, Texas, and it's heading eastbound. And then over here, we got an ALT to Richmond, RIC. So that one's going westbound all the way up to Richmond, California through Bakersfield. However, if you would like to dispatch yourself, you can actually just dispatch in Run 8 and not even deal with driving any trains if that's what you like doing. So for example, if I turn off the dispatcher, the auto dispatcher here at the top, if I uncheck this, now all of the dispatching will be up to me. One of the unique options that Run 8 gives you is the ability to just run it with a dispatch screen. So it won't be processing any graphics or any trains, any visuals. You can also run 2 instances of the game at the same time. So if you have multiple screens, you can have one screen only running your dispatch screens, and then the other monitor can be showing the trains. I can also switch between displaying the train symbol, as you see here, or the train number. So, for example, in this one, the lead unit number, if I hover over the symbol there, is 4229. But if I always want to see that, I can hit F1, switch symbol mode to unit number, and now it shows you the unit number. So down here, BNSF 4300, ATSF 692. So if you prefer that way, you could just switch it. And then if you hover over it, it shows you the train symbol, the NBY to WSP. I usually leave it on the symbol mode. Notice how you get all the diesel exhaust smoke coming out of the tunnel. That's one of the unique features of Run 8. So this train is heading up to Bakersfield, and I want to show you how you would handle a train meet while dispatching. So we're at Control Point Cliff in Tehachapi. We're going through the mountains, and we've got a train that is coming down from Pasco, Washington, heading to Barstow. And he's waiting here, and we're going to put this other train that's going to Bakersfield in the siding. So if I open up our dispatch screen, you're going to see this one, Barstow to Bakersfield, the letters are green. That means it's under AI control and the train's moving. This one over here in red, Pasco to Barstow, PASBAR, is waiting. He's stopped, so it turns red. When this BAR-BAK train stops, the text will also turn red. So now I can hover over the Bakersfield train, and I can see that the length is 3,885 feet. So it's easily short enough to fit in this siding here at Cliff, which is 7,600 feet. So they're both stopped now. If I go back here, you can see this one's stopped. The train going to Bakersfield, I can turn the tag on and see the tag above, BAR-BAK. And then this one is stopped. So now what I'm going to do, I'll get the camera set up here first so you can see. And you can see this switch is currently lined for straight ahead, and we've got a red signal. So I'm going to give 9377 a signal here to move into the siding. So I just do that, give him a green. And now you'll see he's got a diverging approach. And now he's going to head into the siding. And when he gets to the end of this siding, he's going to come to a stop. And once he clears that signal, then I can line the train going to Barstow and give him a green signal. And I can also actually, what I'm going to do is pull up the dispatch screen. And I can give our Bakersfield train a green because he's just going around. So now he won't have to stop. And you can see here this block is red and also the turnout is red. That means that he's still occupying those blocks. So once he clears, those will turn white, and it'll allow me to give this, flip the switch and give the Barstow train a green light. When you're dispatching, you can configure your AI trains and your AI train spawning locations. So that'll all be automatic, and then it can be a lot of fun because you're not having to worry about that. You've got random trains being spawned into the map at random times, and you can set it so that you have lots of trains at one time, spawning every few minutes, and you could, create really complex and tricky situations that you got to figure out and give trains priority over other trains. So now that the Pasco train has cleared, I'm going to come back to our dispatch screen, and I'm going to flip the switch and give our Barstow train the light, and now you see he's got a green light and he's going to proceed on his way. Run 8 also has passenger trains that can be AI crewed and will provide scenery for you as you're driving freight trains across the routes. Or you can drive the passenger trains yourself. Although there isn't anything to do really with timetables or much else for that matter. The auto dispatcher will route you into the Amtrak stations. Here we're at Barstow Station. But aside from that, if you're driving a passenger train, there's nothing really to keep track of if you're on time or not. You can obviously do that in a spreadsheet, separate, and make your own timetables. But there isn't any timetable included in the game. Passenger trains can be fun though, because you do get to travel at much higher speeds than you would with a freight train. Unfortunately, the base game does not include any Amtrak. There are 3 additional DLC that you can purchase on the Run 8 website that will give you the different liveries, the different locomotives. There's even an MP15 in Amtrak livery that you can get. Some of the sleeper cars and diner cars in the newest Amtrak DLC allow you to sit inside and have really nicely detailed interiors. So I'll show you the difference here. This is the Viewliner car in one of the older add-on packs. And you can see it has a dated look to it. Might be an understatement. You can move around the car by hitting different keys, and so you can go along for the ride. But I want to show you now how nice the newest ones look. These are the latest Amtrak cars DLC available, part of the Viewliner pack. And I'm going to show you the great view and the great detail that you get inside of the diner car and the sleeper cars. There's a diner car, and then here's the sleepers. So you can see from inside how neat this looks. It's like the little roomette you get, a can of the foamer soda, and it's pretty neat. You could actually just sit in here and go for a ride. You can see all the different switches and everything, and carpeting, the different signage. And then in the dining car as well, you could see they got a lot of nice detail. You even got your napkins rolled up, salt and pepper. You've got a poster on the wall. So it's pretty cool to just be able to sit in here and go for a ride and just look at the scenery. Run 8 actually has some really nice scenery. Distant mountains, especially in the southwest. You get great views of the mountains. Just another view of the dining car. The depot has a fantastic website. If you're playing Run 8, it's really a must. And they have this train tracker, which is really impressive. So all of these black lines are routes that are currently available in Run 8. The base route is over here in SoCal. When you buy the base game for $50, you get the Mojave subdivision. which will get you Barstow Yard right here, and it'll get you over to Mojave Yard and up to Bakersfield Yard through Tehachapi, and it ends about there, the base route. You won't get this Trona branch, that's extra, and some of these other, this side branch is extra. You will get you don't get the Cajon Pass. It would probably end somewhere around here. And then it'll take you this way east to Needles. And it'll end at Needles Yard. That's the base route. Everything else is additional DLC going down the Cajon, down into Los Angeles, or east all the way to, you see it almost takes you to Flagstaff here at Control Point East Seligman, goes through Kingman, Arizona. And then this is brand new up here, Fresno all the way up to Modesto, UP and BNSF lines. That's brand new. And at some point, it's very likely that they would connect the Northern California route so that you just would have one, you go all the way through Sacramento, one big line. So Northern California, you get Roseville, California right here, and that takes you all the way to Reno, Nevada. You go through the Donner Pass, right through the mountains, and it's pretty intense. And then you end up here in Reno, and then you've got local jobs and everything here that you can do. If we head to the East Coast, we have Pennsylvania, and you've got the Altoona Curve, and Johnstown is in here. And then you got, this is an add-on, the South Fork secondary route that's going south here. So there's actually 2 DLC for Pennsylvania. And then further north in New York, you've got the Mohawk and Selkirk from Syracuse through Albany. You can see on the map there, Pennsylvania down there, and then you can see New York. And then some of the newest lines are also down here in Florida and Alabama. That's one of the newest ones over here in Alabama, which will go down to Meridian, Mississippi. And then, but it currently doesn't make it to Meridian. That will be coming soon. Right now it goes to Control Point Powers. And then over here, we've got in Florida all the way from Orlando through Jacksonville. And then this is brand new going up into Savannah, Georgia. This one just came out a week or two ago into Savannah, Georgia. And then if you go this way, it'll take you up to, let's see, Manchester. So that's your Florida and Alabama DLC. All of the routes on the East Coast and Northeast, Southeast are all additional DLC that you'd have to purchase. And the Northern California is additional. And the extensions for Southern California are also additional purchases from the base game, but very well worth it. Do you need to buy all of these DLCs to enjoy the game? Absolutely not. When you're first starting, I would recommend starting small because it can be very overwhelming. Just the Southern California region could take a single player many years to work all the industries, drive trains over the road. There's so much because it's to one-to-one scale. So it just, like, I have not purchased Florida yet or Atlanta, not because I don't want it. I'm still trying to finish SoCal and Northern California and work all those industries. And then I'll move over to the East Coast. Multiplayer is probably one of the strongest areas of Run 8 and what it's really known for. I left it to last here because I've only ever played single player. However, I have watched hundreds of hours of other people play multiplayer on YouTube, and I'm going to leave you several links in the description to some of those videos and channels where you can learn a whole lot more on how it works. But if you're looking for a multiplayer experience where you could either be just dispatching for everyone, or you can be working locals with a friend, or driving a train and having to use radio communication with TeamSpeak and communicate with the dispatcher and other players. Run 8 is probably the best. I think it is the best available for that type of thing. There's several servers, a lot that I don't even know about, but the biggest one is the Depot Plus on the and if you go to the Depot website, I'll put a link in the description. You can get more info. Those guys play extremely realistic, as realistic as possible. And then there's other servers that are a little bit more relaxed, a little bit less strict, if you will. Guys, I really hope that you enjoyed the video, and most importantly, I hope it helps in your decision on whether or not you'd like to buy Run 8. As you can see, there's so much to talk about, and I only touched on several of the subjects. They get a lot more in depth. I'm planning on making some tutorial videos in the near future to help show how to do specific things, as there's so much to do and to learn in Run 8. I'm going to leave you here with some of the beautiful scenery that Run 8 provides. It has some of the most amazing sunsets and sunrises and views with the distant mountains. The lighting is just spectacular, and the colors in the sunsets are really impressive. And the weather is always changing. There can be rain, you can have snow on the ground as the seasons change and time changes. It's always different, so you're always getting a new experience, even in the same locations. Well, I hope that after watching this, you've decided you want to buy Run 8, and I guarantee you will not regret it.